sweater because I was like, it has been cold in Los Angeles over the last few days. Our weather basically went kaput. And so now every morning I'm like shivering, shivering timber. So wherever you're logging in from, if you're watching on a replay or if you are watching in real time, hello, my name is Dr. Sandra Colton-Medici, and I am bringing you some of the things that I am thinking about this morning as far as headlines, policy, technology, and of course, lifestyle. So let's get into it. All right, I screenshotted a lot of this morning because, we've been focused on so many things that I am trying to organize it so that you can see some of the things that I'm seeing as far as headlines. So let's get into this. All right, first up, I'm going to back up a little bit here. Oh, there we go. Trump blasts Federal Reserve chief and calls for his termination. So this is from today, but it's really regarding yesterday's talk that Jerome Powell was having about warning signs. Okay, I'm going to give you the sort of shorter subtitle here of the article. The president ratcheted up his criticism of Fed Chair Jerome Powell a day after he delivered a stark warning. Yes, because of the tariffs, because of all the things that Donald Trump is doing. Yes, why wouldn't he? Oh, bonjour, Vivian. How are you? I'm sure you are midday right now. Feel free. Give my live stream a like. I love it when people do this, and I always forget to ask. But this is a really big deal. So it goes into, oop, that's the wrong one. Let me go down a few more with some of the headlines that are really taking over social media. This one is big because he really wants to terminate Jerome Powell. Calling for his termination, he can't actually fire him. And that's a big problem for Donald Trump because he is in the way of Donald Trump's narrative. So, and if you have looked at the stock market this morning, it's not looking good either. All right. I took a screenshot. He does not look good, and I apologize because I took a really bad screenshot of Gavin Newsom, but I wanted to show you what it says. We are suing the Trump administration over tariffs. And he goes on to be California is a huge manufacturing state. So I don't know if you've actually been watching anything from Gavin Newsom. He's been doing a few random winding turns and pivots that a lot of Democrats would say are ill-advised because he's been having this podcast. He introduced a podcast. People think he's running for president. And this is kind of his big, deep dive into it. But he is challenging Donald Trump because of all the tariffs that are happening, especially on something else that's happening. A lot of tourism is down across the board, across the United States. And this is very interesting because California, he's making very big pleas to other countries to say, come, even if you don't visit the rest of the United States, come to California. And a lot of people I've seen on TikTok and different social media that they have been saying, no, we are not coming to California. And it's not because of California. It is specifically because they don't want to go through all of the different security that a lot of people are going through and being stopped in TSA, being questioned, having their phones taken, all of those things, being detained. So that's the reason why a lot of people aren't coming, in addition to, tariffs and all the things. Fast tapper or taper. How are you in the comments? So this is an interesting one. So I apologize for the screenshot, but they are suing. My state, California, is suing the Trump administration because of the tariffs. I thought that was brilliant. This is another one that came through, which is from yesterday. And the White House press secretary had a Maryland woman who her daughter was brutally, I believe, raped and murdered by someone from El Salvador. And what the White House press secretary and administration decided to do was bring this woman to the podium in the White House and talk about her experience, her loss. And I thought, this is something that is traumatizing. It is horrible, but it has nothing to do with what they were trying to do. Hi, Ollie. How are you? Yes, Vivian, people are scared. Especially those who are traveling. But in this story, they were trying to basically say, look at this woman's story, look at her loss, and paint this very broad stroke of all people are bad. from El Salvador. It just was right there. You couldn't take that disgusting sort of feeling out of the pit of my stomach while watching that woman talk. And not because of her loss, but because they were doing that from the day before when the White House press secretary went from talking about Gilmar Abrego Garcia to talking about this woman's daughter. And then the very next day, which was yesterday, they brought her to the podium. And it was so gross to actually think that they were using her loss to basically paint this broad stroke. Yes, it's awful that they do that. Yes, Ollie, I am in agreement here. So that was something that I think they're going to continue to do. They're going to continue to use the White House press podium as this sort of talking station, not necessarily for her to give more detail on the policy of the Trump administration, but they're going to start bringing regular citizens to the front to talk about their grievances with the Democrats, with whomever, so that it's coming from people. And I think they can't, in the press room with those journalists, they're not going to attack those people. They're not going to ask them really, really poignant questions when they're talking about the murder of their child. Absolutely not. But it gets her out of the briefing room faster. She answers less questions because she has less time to answer those questions, and the time is sucked up with all of these different people. I think that's what their strategy is going to be moving forward. All right, let's go to another one, which is interesting because this was all over the news. The Menendez brothers. If you didn't watch the documentary and the sort of mini series that they did, I don't know if you know who they are. Let me get out of the way so you can see the Menendez brothers. This was a major story. And it says the Menendez brothers, currently serving a life prison sentence, are set to be resentenced this week. Okay, if you don't know the story, they were charged and convicted of murdering their parents when they were, I think, in their like 17, 18, 19 years old. And there was a lot going on there was a first trial and then there was a second trial. This was in the whole same time frame as O.J. Simpson. Like there was a lot going on. They wanted to be let out. And if you have been following it, there was I believe an attorney general for the state of California, or I'm not quite sure if it was the attorney general or somebody in the LA district attorney's office, that did not want them to get out. And that person was just like, I don't think that they won whatever it is, the internal arguments, it did not go in their favor. So they will be resentenced. Now, what happens during the resentencing is very interesting because they have already been in prison for years. The murders were in 1989. So if we're like 89 to 99 to 2009, like we're coming up like some years here, right? And they argue that because they were so young, because this was sort of like their first major offense, had that happened with all of the evidence that they presented as their sort of self-defense or whatever, that they would have received a lighter sentence, considering what people are getting today for a similar crime, okay? Now, I don't know what's going to happen. Some people believe that in this resentencing, that they are going to receive basically like time served and actually get out of jail. So I encourage you to watch the documentary that they did and also the series. I think it's the same person who does American Horror Story. He was the person who actually did the series about the Menendez brothers. Yes, Ollie says, I don't know what to say. I know there's a lot to say here. All right, this is another major story. The judge finds probable cause exists to hold the Trump administration in contempt for violating the orders on the deportation flights to El Salvador. Now, this is our constitutional crisis because they are being found probable cause, at least, in this sort of contempt violation. And the 9-0 Supreme Court ruling for the case of Gilmar Abrego Garcia is also something that is at a head with the Trump administration. So I don't know how this is going to play out, but I definitely wanted to bring this again to your attention, that this is the fight that we thought would happen by electing Donald Trump one more time. David Hogg You remember him as a leader that kind of was born out of the tragedy that happened with a school shooting. He has been leading the charge for gun violence or gun reform in the United States. And he is supporting a $20 million initiative to support primarying Democrats in the House. I am all for this. He went on to MSNBC. I was at my mom's house and I was watching him. Very articulate, very eloquent, very, very poised in how he is framing this discussion to get rid of, replace with effective leaders in the House and in the Senate, and getting rid of the ones that are ineffective. Okay, there are a lot of people who get into their offices and they sit there and they don't do anything and they are ineffective. And I am all for making sure that we have effective leaders for our representatives in the House. Michael, good luck. Thank you. Says Supreme Court said facilitate. Absolutely. I'm curious as to how that's really working out because they're going to have to present in the next, I believe, 2 weeks. They're going to have to present what they have actually done to facilitate that. So it's very curious. JDD, I know we could talk a long, long time about all these different stories, but unfortunately, that is all the time I have today. But definitely come back tomorrow. We will chat again. Are you in the UK? I think that's what you're saying. I'm not sure by your comment. But I really, really appreciate all of you for being here. I will try to do more live streams as we go into the weekend. I was trying to only do them Monday through Friday, but there's so much going on that I think that I might end up doing one on Saturday and Sunday too. Either way, check me out on Substack. If you haven't already subscribed over there, it's free. You can do a free subscription over there and check out some of the stuff that I'm doing there, which is different than I'm doing on YouTube. In the mornings, Monday through Friday, YouTube Live. In the evenings, Substack Live. And all these people are coming. Hold on. Casey, they won't send him back. So how should we get him? How should we get him? You know what? There are some creative things happening. I would say that Americans are very innovative and they will find a way. So definitely give me a like if you enjoyed my live stream today. I will be back on Substack Live later this evening and I hope to see you guys there. Have a good one, you guys.